Okay, welcome to council meeting May 4th at 7 p.m. Let's get started. So first off, I got an agenda in front of me. We do have an in camera for personnel later. It's listed, just have the thing beside it. Anything else? Motion to accept the agenda as presented. Thank you, Councillor Grumlick. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We have the minutes of our previous meeting held on April 19th on page 3 of our package. Any changes, concerns, or issues? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept as presented. Thank you, Councillor King. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. CAO update, Mr. Kim.
Council, my CAO update will be for the discussion. There are remains close via emails and phone calls. We issued 7 submitted 6 reports for their the first business and resident engagement for downtown revitalization was held on the 6th of April with a positive response overall. We are currently reviewing design options for the whole project area based on the comments received. Council will be engaging the comment base for your input. Virtual public open house for Willard and Grove Club for environmental stakeholder 6 calls and launched the fire investigation on the Barton Farm. We are working with insurance firms on the fire damages. Just vehicle contractors in the full basin, which is scheduled to be built. In contest, we completed 280 returns so far to the seniors. Our corporate asset management software called Asset Essentials is live this week. The statement reason websites application was made to travel market trends. Due to the heights in the COVID-19 restrictions, the transportation survey will be temporarily too small. My presentation, Your Worship.
Okay, let's jump into questions and comments from council. Going once, Councillor Busk. Sometimes I want to call everyone by first name, so it takes me a minute for Maureen to kick in.
So just here under the fire department, can you tell me, is this print, like assistant numbers, upward forestry with burn pipes by Lord?
Piles. Burn piles. I've been seeing them doing a lot of the reduction burning and stuff like that. There's a lot of the population in the community that are still in that stressor when they see smoke, smell smoke, stuff like that. I'm glad to see that there's lots of communication going out. Just trying to let people know that what is going on and stuff like that, because we are just about in that same season where the disaster did happen, right? So it's nice to see that we are keeping our public apprised. Thank you.
Other questions, Councillor McGregor?
Are we all attending on the 10th of May to this virtual open house?
You know what? I haven't even discussed it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not mandatory.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I just didn't see it. This is the first I thought about it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Ferguson.
I just wondered where we're at with getting to meet with meeting with all our parks and folks to get for this year.
I know 3 wishes, so I know we talked to them, but I have met the base of the
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Going once, going twice. I see nothing. One more, Councillor Busk, sorry.
And just one last thing, I'd asked a few weeks ago when we had that demonstration of the new plastic product out here, if they were going to do a demonstration, can you tell me, has that been done or when it's scheduled to be done and where it's going to be done?
It is currently being scheduled.
Anything else? I see nothing. Let's jump into our first report. Roland, checks over 50,000, sorry, on page 13 in our package.
University member of council, plans report. First of three reports is to report checks in excess of 50,000 from January 1st to March 31st. To date, there have been 9 checks and EFT, electronic fund transfer payments in excess of $50,000. Checks that are part of normal operations include payroll, utilities, RCMP costs, requisitions. The Housing Authority received their requisition for $68,000. And at the request of the RCMP on a go-forward basis, all payments are made to them by electronic fund transfers. And the first quarter was in the amount of $461,000. There were 3 capital projects issued in the year. The first was the purchase of the steamer, and that was a 2019 capital project for $80,000. The second was the purchase of the Zamboni machine. This is also a 2019 capital project. And the remaining capital project was for the sewage lagoon upgrade project to Rough Rider International for $631,000. Payroll related checks amounted to $1,087,000 for the quarter.
Questions, Councillor Busk?
So Roland, this RCMP check, usually when we pay a set amount, the full amount, every quarter, and then the first quarter of the following year, it's adjusted. Was that an adjustment payment? That was that would be the January to March, April of their year end. So their 2020 year end, the final adjusted payment. So from the forecast and the stuff that they got or gave me, it looks like now that these should be roughly exactly the same, between 455 to 461 for the remainder of the year. So 2020 was balanced out. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Brendel.
I'll make a motion that we,
No, I don't think any of the mics are turning on over here, John. Mine turns on, but nobody else's does.
yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion that be it resolved that council accepts this report as information.
Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That's carried.
Yeah, they're all not working, I think, or ours down here aren't. Maybe now they are. They're permanently on.
Mine's stuck on.
Permanently
You
on.
want to hear me heavy breathing?
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Luckily, there's only 2 more reports. Next one, Roland, transferring outstanding utility arrears to property taxes.
Okay, so the second report here. So the current utilities that are 90 days past due amount to $32,000. Arrears letters have been sent out to all residents via email or mail about the past due amounts. The motion requested tonight is to simply transfer the amounts that are over 90 days in the utility arrears to their property taxes.
Questions? Comments? Councillor Randall.
Is this normal for this first quarter for that amount?
Yeah, roughly. So for the past couple, since we've been doing this, this is roughly around the amount that we've been transferring every time.
Okay.
Okay. Keep going, Councillor Brendel.
I don't have another question. I was just gonna make a motion if nobody else.
That's what I want.
All right.
Give her.
Is that on?
It's on.
Be it resolved that council directs administration to transfer utility arrears over 90 days as March 31st, 2021 to their property taxes.
Any discussion? All the question, those in favor? That is carried. Okay, first quarter budget results, page 18.
All right, so attached to this report, I gave us a look at our budget to actuals kind of overall, and then I also broke it down by cost center for everyone to take a look at, just to see the individual cost centers. Overall, expenditures stand at 23%, which is roughly in line with where we expected to see that. However, looking at the revenue side of the situation, revenues are definitely down below where we expected them to be at this point. One notable one that's there's still time in the year for it to change is in general revenue from our ATCO Gas and ATCO Power franchise agreements. So this stood at 19% of collected revenue for the first quarter, and usually we are sitting in the ballpark of 22 to 24% at this time. And that's just due to the amount billed out. There's no control over that. So that was an area of concern. Other than that, on the expenditure side, I think we're doing all right. On the revenue side, given tonight's updates and the ongoing pandemic that continues to keep our facilities closed, there is some concern. It's still early in the year, so I don't want to jump ahead of the ball, but putting in stuff if this continues that we could be seeing somewhat of a deficit should the revenue decrease and the facility closures keep prolonged. I think in our original estimations, we were kind of hoping to have a little bit ahead of the game by, May, June here. And with this current third wave going on, that will have some impact. So while we can offset some of those costs, some of the fixed costs are just what they are, and we can't avoid that. So at this time, unless there's a change in course in the pandemic, this would have the negative impact on the town's ability to meet its budget for the year.
Okay, questions, comments?
And I do have two extra numbers in here to provide here. So utility receivables, total utility receivables stand at $524,000, and $381,000 of that is current, which is 30 days and under, with the remaining amounts owing greater than 30 days. Taxes receivable currently stand at $971,000 owing on 2020 property taxes. However, over half the amount of the outstanding taxes, $642,000, are representative of a very, very small number of rolls. Other than these rolls, the taxes owing for the period are in line with prior years. The current tax levy has not been applied yet and sent out, and the town has received $920,000 in tax installments so far this year.
Okay, questions, comments? So I just had a couple. So first off, you said there that there's $900,000 still outstanding from 2020 taxes, but 600 and some of it is from a small amount of tax rolls.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a small amount of tax rolls. So I'm guessing that these are all commercial ones mostly.
Yes.
Okay. And we're communicating with those people?
We are.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that was really the only question I had. If there's nothing else, Councillor King. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Okay, we're flying tonight here. Mayor's Corner. So where do I start here? Since our last council meeting, council had an interesting discussion with the National Police Federation. And their delegates from there, and that was approximately 2 weeks ago. It was great. There was a lot of alignment in what we're trying to do with some of the changes to the Solicitor General's office and some of the things around justice. And so I did end up connecting them with AUMA and our resolution that has gone through there and was passed by a number of 96% of AUMA said, let's go out and advocate for that. So it was nice to connect those two very powerful organizations, and hopefully that they'll continue to carry that information forward. Following that, the next day we had a tri-council meeting there with representatives from all three, and Barry from the MD led us through a little bit of discussion. Very early stages, but what was overwhelmingly obvious is that the three entities still recognize and appreciate the benefit of working together. There's still a strong cooperative spirit. It was great to have some very honest and open discussion, and really focused on identifying some projects that will help the region and not just one of us. So we're planning to have another meeting here in the next few weeks. We'll dig into that in more detail, but it was great to see that 10 years later, as we approach the anniversary of the fire, that relationship is still thriving. Adding to that thriving feeling is we had our first meeting with 5 municipalities and 5 First Nations here last week. And so the feeling from all those present and the couple that did not make it, but did send their regards and said, we're 100% in and we'll be at the next meeting, was that, yeah, we want to do this and move forward. So, and really action focused that, like, let's get some terms of reference, let's get a governance structure, and then let's get into some advocacy and some projects and talk about how we can work together and help each other. So actually no negative pushback at all. It was really good. And so we set another meeting for, I want to say, the end of May, and said the idea is that at the May meeting, what we would go through some draft terms of reference and that kind of that governance structure and have that kind of nailed off. And then have some kind of MOUs, memorandums of understanding, or some friendships accord in place going into the summer. So we've got some momentum there to actually get some stuff done. So I was very thankful for that group of leaders to come down and recognize that there is significant benefit in working together, and we're excited to see where that goes. Additionally, I did reach out to Seti and Kandu, who we worked with in the past with Tri-Council and helped with some administrative stuff behind the scenes, and even some funding for some of the work that we did. And they're interested to see how they can be a part of that as well. So we'll see where that all goes. Next, we had a legacy meeting for about 2 or 3 hours there the other night, and had some in-depth discussion with Civic Childcare Society. We've got some challenges in rent, and they're running into some big issues, largely because of changes in how the government has restricted the amount of kids that can go there and changes in how they support them. And then we have the recent federal announcements that say, hey, we're going to do something with daycare, but the provinces are saying, hey, we're not buying into that. And it's really tough for them to understand their business model and how they're productive and away they go. One of the things that we are going to do right away was move towards a change of, they're going to release some of the space that they use, which would be the upstairs right now. There's approximately 2,500 square feet up there with a few offices and some open, could be a boardroom area type thing. And so administration is looking into the feasibility of just making sure that we have access and how we would do that and rent that out. But our intention is to try and get a tenant in there. They'll learn to work in their space downstairs only, and hopefully we'll offset some of the revenue and get some money back in for the building. So the other thing is that as much as we had some concerns about their financials and how things were, they had some concerns about how the board manages the funds of the building and how that happens. So it was actually a really good open discussion. And so our next meeting is set up here for, I want to say 2 weeks from now, and we're going to sit down and go through a bunch of those financials together so everybody understands where things are going and what we're happening. So it was a good meeting, a good start. So if you know of anybody that's interested in looking to rent some space, it looks like Legacy will have some available coming up. Councillor Gramick.
Mic check.
Mic check, bro. Mic check. Station 5.
I thought, aren't they a part of the board? Don't they have someone that sits on the board?
They do, but I think like everything, some of that information doesn't always get across in great detail. And so I think they have some newer board members and that sort of thing too. So I think it's a good exercise. You know, they are literally the biggest contributor to the revenue for the Legacy Center. And so, you know, they're feeling like, I don't understand some of these numbers and accountability, and we're really pushing back on them like, this is part of the situation that we're in, as part of what you're doing. Part of it's the government, part of it's everything. But you are an owner and you are liable and responsible for any losses that are incurred. And they said, okay, well, let's have a conversation about that. So no problem, let's do it. So it was actually a really good meeting. So I'm looking forward to the next one. Lastly, I apologize for our communications error yesterday where we thought all the kids were going home. We got a genie over here and he can see the future. So it was coming. It was coming, right? Like it was announced today. So we're just a little bit too early. That being said, obviously the big news of the day, of the hour, approximately an hour and 20 minutes ago, we were notified of the growing concerns in Alberta and the further restrictions that are impounded on us. And so highlights from that, kindergarten grade 12 goes to school till Friday and then they're off for 2 weeks. They don't go back till the 25th. Places of worship are reduced to, I want to say it's 15 total. Where funerals and weddings are further reduced. Outside gatherings are limited to 5 people instead of 10 now, with hope that for maximum of 2 households. Retail, 5% of total fire capacity or 5 maximum. And outdoor patios, personal services. Is it? Oh, I can't remember. I thought it was 5%. Maybe it's 10%. It's pretty low, whatever it is. Personal services, outdoor patios, all your haircuts and nails and aesthetic things are all shut down as of midnight on Sunday. So get your haircuts in. And I'm missing one other big key one here. I can't remember. I should have wrote it down. I'm just doing it on my head. What's that? The outbreaks. Yeah. There's, the message was very strong that you work from home. If at all possible, you work from home. But if your place is identified as an outbreak, and from what I loosely understand, that's two positive COVID tests in your work environment, then everybody goes home and they work from home and you're shut down until that time lapses. Another big push that, the world is going to open and vaccinations are coming. Anyone over 16 will imminently be able to access vaccinations. The message is that hospitals are at capacity and they're running out of room and they need to flatten the curve and get things back on track. So the real question of the day is that, will the people that weren't listening before all of a sudden start listening? That is always the question, and I don't know what the answer is to that. The one little gem that was in there was a discussion right at the beginning that this was for the majority of Alberta, but there are some small places where COVID numbers are low, and these restrictions might not apply to them, but it's not really clear where that is. So Premier didn't take any questions. We'll see what tomorrow brings, because I'm sure there'll be a flurry of them, and we'll see where we all end up. But starting to feel like March 2020 here again for a couple of weeks. But the message is there's hope on the horizon, and it's within spitting distance. Just don't spit, wear your mask. Whether or not that is the truth or not, I don't know. I'm starting to believe. I am frustrated that I will lay off all my staff again for the 4th time. But it is what it is. I also want to make sure that when the hospital, when one of us needed, one of my staff needed, or my family needed, that there's some options there. So we'll see where we all end up. With that, we do have a letter that we had deferred to this meeting from High River. And so basically down south in the High River area there has been some opening of the eastern slopes and some coal exploration going on. Right now, it's just been majority of the work has been around surveying and exploration, not really digging at this point, but they are disturbing that landscape. And so the government kind of did push back on that one and say, okay, we're going to do some consultation. So High River is championing a bit of a campaign there to say, listen, like everything stops. That means you're surveying, you're prodding around, sending crews out in the bush and building roads and doing whatever until that consultation is complete. And they're looking for some support with that we would send a message to the Premier similar to what they did. So I did talk to Mayor Snodgrass about that to get a little bit more background. And, basically the gist of it is you said you're going to do consultation. Don't do anything until the consultation is done. Makes sense to me. Questions, comments? concerns? If not, I would make a motion that we send a letter to our premier and probably the Minister of Energy, along with the Minister of Parks and Environment, or I think it's Environment and Parks. Joanna, you'll clean that one up. Supporting the message that the town of High River has sent already. Any discussion on that? Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Lastly, I'll entertain a motion to go in camera. Thank you, Councillor Best. Call the question. Those in favor? We are going in camera. Jordan, let us know when we are off. What's that? School's out for 2 weeks.
For the summer.